defense references I can make, but hopefully everyone's okay. I'm not going to do that. Joining us right now from The Athletic, he was there yesterday as that defense was absolutely stellar, but do we worry about the offense? The one, the only Matt Barrows of The Athletic joins us. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Great. 4 in a row, first place. Couldn't be better, Matt.
Yes, for sure. And 4, what was it, second half shutouts in a row for that defense? And this being a first half plus second half shutout. And as Trey Greenlaw said, the slogan, the mantra before the game was, don't let them score points. If we don't let them score points, we'll win. And that's absolutely what happened.
Well, and here's the thing. As a lifelong Niner fan, I tend to wring my hands a little too much. You are even-keeled and the expert on this whole thing. I'm happy with the win. Any win's a great win. I know Mexico in the week was weird and blah, 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 blah. But with the offensive weapons the Niners had, I left myself after the game going, I'm super happy about the win. This defense was awesome. But should this Niner offense score only 13 points against anyone, am I right to be worried a little bit there, or are there other things going on?
Well, of course you're right to be worried. But, I mean, I sort of saw this game being a tough one just because of the circumstances. It reminded me of so many of the games where they spent time on the East Coast and then they come back and they just have a dud of a game once they're back in the Bay Area. It's about body clocks and this, that, and the other. And they had the additional issues of playing on a short week and then playing at altitude in Mexico City the week before. So I sort of expected this game to be certainly what they put forth on offense. And it reminded me a lot of the Falcons game in 2019. That was the game where they played pretty well in Baltimore, and they had that fantastic game in New Orleans, and then they come back and they play a really lousy Falcons team, and they were actually winning. The 49ers were late in the fourth quarter, but they just couldn't put the Falcons away. And that was a Julio Jones game, a Matt Ryan game, and Atlanta ends up winning it. And that kind of had that same vibe to me, that, boy, they're playing well on defense. They're winning in the fourth quarter, but they haven't put the Saints away. And so when the Saints go down, not once but twice, deep into the red zone, I think, oh, boy, this is going to be where the 49ers let this slip from their grasp. But they didn't this time, and it was that really brilliant play by Greenlaw. Greenlaw at the 1-yard line is a great linebacker. And Hufanga, and then Hassan Ridgeway who coming in, and then Greenlaw getting that fumble back. That was one of them. The Nick Bosa sack was the other. But my point being that I think this was an important win for this team. It showed real kind of mental strength. And I think it showed that this defense, as good as that 2019 unit was, and it was good, this defense, I think, is better, and I think it's going to get better once they get Eric Armstead back, and that seems like it's in the offing.
Matt, want to ask, maybe it's a two-parter here. One, the Niners didn't run the ball as well as they typically do, so maybe reasons for that. And secondly, what's the status looking like for Elijah Mitchell going forward?
Yeah, I think the reason for that is they were doing, the Saints were doing what a lot of teams do, which is dare the 49ers to throw the ball, and that's why you had so many throws there in the first half. And the Saints have a good defense. I mean, I was really impressed with the Saints linebackers, Demario Davis and a couple of other guys. They were very physical. They had Cam Jordan back. They had Marcus Davenport, another one of their regular starters, back. So that's a strong unit. Obviously, that's a team led by a defensive guy. They were playing well, and like I said, that plus maybe the off nature of the 49ers offense kind of added up to what we saw for most of the game. Mitchell, I think the line on him, and we'll get more information today, was that the same injury that he suffered against the Bears in Week 1, which is an MCL sprain, it's to a different knee, and it's not as serious. So I talked to him briefly after the game. He didn't think it was going to be another 8-week deal like the first one was. I don't know what the timetable is, but safe to say that he might not be available for this upcoming game against the Dolphins.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic with us. I got to ask you, because I've seen the mumbling and grumbling on Twitter, and I know you've seen it too. Trey Lance was throwing the ball around before the game. He seems to be walking around, and no crutches, no boot, and all that. I'm not going to ask you, hey, could you see him take over for Jimmy Garoppolo at some point this season? What I am going to ask you is, do you think, and does it seem that he is on track to be healthy before the end of the season?
I think so. And we should clarify what you just said. He was throwing passes around it, but it was like,
right. Yes,
you're throwing passes around with your 3.5-year-old.
Right.
They're very, very gentle balls here. But yeah, I do think the timetable for a team that might go deep into January is lines up to when he would start to be coming back fully. And so that's why that question was asked to Kyle Shanahan the other day. Nobody expects Trey Lance to come in and be ready to take over the offense, by Christmas. But maybe by the end of January, we're talking championship game. And the way I was thinking about it, what if there's an emergency? I mean, we saw Jimmy Garoppolo deal with not one but two arm injuries or right hand / right arm injuries in December and January of last year. I mean, that's certainly plausible. And would you have a Trey Lance available at that point? The 49ers keep saying, no, let's not even think about it. But if that scenario did come to pass, say January 10 or something like that, and 49ers won, and they had more games to go, I think absolutely it would be raised as a possibility, because I think medically he would be, if not, fully at the end of his repairing those bones, he would be really close, because that's what the prognosis is. So, it's something to kind of keep in mind. He's without a boot. He's walking fine, and we did see him spy him taking a few throws with a staffer. It wasn't even with a teammate, just kind of shooting the breeze before the game, but does show that he's well on his way to making a full recovery.
Well, tiny little follow-up then, because it's Kyle Shanahan. Let's say nothing, knock on wood, nothing happens to Jimmy, but Trey Lance is healthy, 1 January, they're in the playoffs. I mean, is it that unrealistic to think that Kyle Shanahan, being the mad scientist he is, might sneak Lance in for certain plays and screw around there a little bit, maybe, Taysom Hill style from time to time, or is that crazy even for Kyle?
Well, I mean, you also have this guy coming off an injury that occurred because he was being used on some of these running plays.
Right.
So I'm not sure you insert him for running plays. That would be the ultimate bullheaded move there. Right. But you know what? I would not put it past him. Yeah, I would say that in that scenario, he would come into a game only if, there's something wrong with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
I mean, ostensibly, Jimmy Garoppolo has taken you to the championship game. I don't think you want to start fiddling around with the formula at that point. But, if he's available, he's available. And he is the number 3 overall pick in the draft a couple of years ago. So I would think that you would use him. But I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
Matt, first and foremost, a good team's coming in on Sunday in the Miami Dolphins. But how much of a storyline will the media and maybe everyone else and the players themselves make of the return of Coach McDaniel coming back to San Francisco?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal, and I think it became an even bigger deal with that injury to Mitchell and a possible injury to Christian McCaffrey. He was dealing with what Kyle Shanahan said was knee irritation at the end of the game, and so when they made that trade of Jeff Wilson to Miami, everybody was thinking, oh boy, do you want to do that on a team that has some tailbacks with a bit of an injury history? And lo and behold, in the game before this one, 2 of them get hurt. So that will be front and center during the week, and we'll have to monitor Christian McCaffrey's injury. And these 2 guys were not retained by their team, and so I think there's always the revenge element. If you'll remember, John Embry, the tight ends coach in Miami, had the same job in San Francisco, and he left under unpleasant circumstances. So there is a bit of a revenge factor. And, the other part of it is that 49ers did not do well against a marquee offense in Kansas City's in Week 7. This is the second best offense coming in, the Chiefs. They've got Tyreek Hill. They can throw deep. They can run the ball now. It's very dynamic. So this is an opportunity to prove to everybody that Chiefs game was an aberration, and that you can handle one of the top offenses in the league. So we've been circling this one for a while, and the storylines keep piling up. So it's going to be a very, very intriguing game to watch.
We're completely out of time, but I can't let you go. Christian McCaffrey, just real quick, what do you know about his what he's dealing with? Is he fine?
I don't know. Like I said, it was described as knee irritation. He didn't come out of the game altogether, but it was Jordan Mason with a sort of critical, end of game, salt away the game yards at the end. I thought Mason did well, but we'll have to see what the follow-up is this week with that. But it's something that, McCaffrey deals with off and on, and something sort of a buyer beware thing. When you make this trade for him, you make the trade for a guy who, does tend to miss practices and has had some things to deal with over the years.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic. Read him, listen to him, watch him. He is the end-all be-all expert on our San Francisco 49ers. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you in a week, my man.
All right, sounds good, guys. Talk to you then.
Thank you.